Welcome to the Ignorance is Strength podcast. I'm your host, Fabian motherfucking Ojeda, and I don't know shit, but that's okay. All right. Let's get this shit started. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Ignorance is Strength podcast. Hope you all enjoyed episode number 58 with Larry Landless, the local living legend. Definitely interesting guy, and I at the time of recording, I just released it, this morning, and I've already gotten great feedback, so I definitely hope to have him back on very soon. We're back today with another brand new guest. He is an author. He's a game designer and a podcaster as well. Welcome to the show, Anthony Williams. How you doing, Anthony?
Oh, I'm doing well, man. Thank you for having me on.
For sure. Oh, you're in California too?
I am, man. Born and raised in New York, but now I live out in Southern California. Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, it's been kind of a trip trying to get some of these guests scheduled from different countries or even just different parts of the U.S. And I'm like, hey, yeah. we had a meeting on Zoom. What happened? Like, wasn't it later? Like, y'all can't do math.
Now you got to fix your calendars, man. You'll get this. I'll tell you this. You gotta set up the calendar, and that's why I always send calendar invites, man, because it eliminates the people who just don't pay attention. I live by my calendar. I've done it now. Like if there's nothing in my calendar, I will leave for the day. Mm-hmm. I will go outside and go play golf or something, right? Like I will do something that has like without you in mind. Okay.
Right.
If nothing's in my calendar, if stuff's in my calendar till like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, then at 1:15, I'm out. You won't get me. Right. Like I'm done. Right. Like that's how you get away when you create content from home or whatever.
All right. Well, how you liking California as opposed to New York, man?
Man, you can't beat the weather in California, dude. I mean, you can't even lie about it. You know what I mean? You can't beat the weather, but the food's better in New York.
Is it?
Oh yeah, food's better in New York.
I hear about the pizza all the time, so I got to check that out. I've never been, but I definitely got to check that out.
Pizza in New York is dope. It's the water, man. It makes the dough rise a different way, so it makes it taste good.
That's what I heard. Now you got a lot going on, and I seen your background there. You've got the Independent Mouth, your podcast. Mm-hmm. Talk about that name a little bit, man. That kind of, to me, the Independent Mouth, that immediately kind of just smacks you in the mouth. Like it seems like, you talk about maybe things that people might not be too comfortable talking about. Would that be a fair assessment?
Oh yeah. That's why you see the red, white, and blue. I talk, what happened was I started the Independent Mouth. And this is a story that, man, I mean, I'm sure, man, your viewers or yourself can relate was, I didn't know what I wanted to do, man. I wrote my book and I had already graduated with game design degree. And, I left with honors, right? With team building and leadership awards and all this stuff. And I'm like, man, I don't want to be a programmer in the corner of a room, right? Like that wasn't appealing to me, right? So I went and I applied my game design knowledge, my degree to other companies, whether it was telecom, whether it was messaging, whether it was tech, whether, it was sales, whatever it was, man. I just applied everything that I was doing. Well, I wrote my book and my father was my biggest cheerleader, man. He kept pushing me. You need to be on a podcast or go on the radio and go do something. You like talking to people. Go make yourself happy. Finally do something that you want to do. And, stop, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, all right, Pop, I'll do it. So I bought the podcast platform on the 17th of March, and he had a massive heart attack on the 18th of 2020. Yeah. And this was right, like as they were shutting everything down with COVID. Right. So, I had no idea what I wanted to do, man. I'm in the plane and I'm like, you did not have to kill him for me to do a podcast. Right. Like it's like all I could think about was like all the stuff that was happening. And I flew out to New York, man. I was out there 6 weeks. So, my wife and my kids were back here in California. I was there with my mother and my sisters and my niece and stuff like that and some family members. And it was just a really awkward time, man. And look, I had a lot of time to think, right? I had a lot of time, man. Like 3,000 miles away from my wife and my kids. My father just died. It's not like we're hosting parties all over the place where I'm dealing with company, bro, and everything's shut down. You like quote unquote can't leave your house, right?
Right.
So what the hell am I going to do? So I started looking into like just everything. And I've been a big proponent of parsing information. You know what I mean? Because I've worked in tech for a long time. I understand how marketing things work. I understand how, when big companies want to suppress a small company, because there's only two ways. If you got a product that Facebook likes, let me give you the secret. There's two ways they're going to look at you. They're either going to absorb you, which means fund you, take you under their wing, and, do all the nice stuff. Hi, we're all buddy, promote you, everything else. Or they're going to disrupt you. And that means they're going to squish you. They're going to take your company, your product, your IP, right? Those are the only two ways it goes. So I had known that for a long time. And I just started looking at stuff, man. So I went on LinkedIn and I just, was like, hey, can I interview you or, interview you? I didn't know what the hell I was doing, dude. Like I tell people all the time, I had no idea. I had no idea, bro, what I wanted to do. Do I want to do sports? I love sports. Do I want to do, news and entertainment? But like, really, I don't give enough of a shit about other people's lives that way. You know what I mean? Like
you're not keeping up with the Kardashians,
bro. I haven't watched one episode, never will. Right? Like and like my wife will watch Bachelor or Bachelorette. I'm like, how the fuck do you watch this? Like I can't be enough in somebody's business like that to actually care enough. It's not in me, and it's not that I'm self-absorbed. It's just like I have no interest in watching you putting on fucking flip-flops, bro. Like, and then go and eating chicken and then go and spending $100,000 on a boat. Like that doesn't impress me. I don't care. Right. So I wasn't looking at that stuff. And so I'm like, you know what? Screw the 1% people. Let me interview people that nobody's ever heard of. And, people that could still be successful with businesses and everything else. But I found a lot of assholes, right? Like people didn't want to do it, or you didn't have enough name, right? Because people always want to use you for something. So I was kind of like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm going to get all the people who aren't like that. So I did. And that just started the ball rolling. That got me comfortable. That got me understanding what I wanted to do. And then I got the fuck it's, bro. I got the, like, I don't care anymore. Like like whether that is my dad came to me or whatever it was like, I don't give a shit what you think. If you don't like it, you don't have to listen, but I don't have to change what I'm doing just because you as one person don't like it. Cause guess what? There's over 10,000 other people who do.
Yeah.
So you're not changing what I'm doing. So yeah, I started incorporating politics. I started incorporating news, entertainment, sports. I do a little bit of everything. But the whole reason of the Independent Mouth was I am not on the right and I am not on the left.
Like it.
I'm going down the middle. I like something from the left, I take it. I like something from the right, I take it, right? And I take all the information and I talk to you from the lens of me, not a professional pontificator. How does this affect my life?
Right.
And go ahead.
Yeah, there's not enough of that. I agree with that because, I'm kind of the same way. Most of most of the stuff that I agree with politically, it doesn't line up. It's not like, I'm leaning heavily to the right or heavily to the left. It's just what makes the most sense. And what I don't understand these days is how people take politics so damn personally to the point where it feels like, they're in a drunken brawl over their favorite football team, and it's like they're tailgating and beating each other's ass. It doesn't make sense.
Hey, bro, I love Michael Jordan. I love Kobe Bryant. I love Wayne Gretzky. I love Derek Jeter, right? But I ain't a fanboy of any of them, man.
Right,
I like you for your talent, bro. Thank you. Congratulations that you had that God-given talent and you were able to do with it. You know what I want to know? Are you an asshole? Because that's going to change whether or not I follow you, bro. Like, that's going to change it. LeBron, can't fucking stand him. I don't care if he's good or not. He's a bitch. I'll say it on your podcast. I've said it on mine. LeBron, you're a bitch. Come at me if you want. You fake fouls. You bring politics into sports where people are going to not talk fucking politics, okay? And let me just say this straight for everybody. If you were idolizing a sports figure or a politician, you're the fucking problem. You are the fucking problem. You know why? Because you got a family at home and you're giving them more fucking care because they shoot a basketball than you are your own fucking kids. So grow the fuck up. That's one. Number two, if you can't see that both sides of the aisle in politics are wrong and that they're messed up. I don't care who you believe in or not, that both of them, let's say one thing to you on Tuesday and something else on Thursday, but you still follow, you're part of the fucking problem. Period. Like, period. And when you get mad at people that ask you a question that challenges it, when they're really asking a question, they're not going at you, but your only responses are you on drugs? What's wrong with you? You're racist. Hey, I'm just asking you a question because guess what, homie? I'm Italian. My niece is half Italian, half Mexican because my sister married a man straight from Mexico. Right? Like, why am I asking about somebody coming across the border I'm trying to understand what's your perspective, what's mine, because my family was immigrants too. All of them. They came off the ravioli boat. My last name's changed. I have that fucking bro. My last name's changed, right? So this is the point. Like, when I laugh at people, it's not, it's not to put you in a spot, to talk about something maybe you don't, but I just get tired of it because the first people's reaction is, let me down this person instead of trying to build education for the people who follow. Right? That's what the independent mouth is about. Let's have a tough conversation. Let's have that. Let's have it. Let's have it so that the kids can make that decision.
Yeah. I mean, it seems though that tough conversations these days is they just lead to, like you said, name calling or like, we're not friends anymore, and I've seen so much of that online and it's really it's a super toxic thing, man. You get the 40-year-olds arguing on Facebook and, they've had friendships since they were 2 years old. And all of a sudden they're not talking to each other anymore because one was waving a Trump flag and the other one, was completely against it or whatever, Do
you like UFC?
Yeah. Okay. Actually, I've been watching for a while.
Yeah. Okay. So, Paul Felder.
Yeah.
Okay, best thing I ever seen. He retired, you heard, right? Like, he retired the other day during the broadcast. It's never like this huge fan of Paul Felder, right? Like, I liked him. Yeah, he's a good fighter, right? He did some great things. He definitely stepped up the game for people to come in and be better, right? That's what you're supposed to do as a person in sports. Totally get it. He reposted a thread where somebody was telling him to retire a couple years ago. And he's like, oh, really? So you have all these things to say about me now. Would you say that to my face? Like, he asked the guy in the thread. The guy goes, of course not. You'd whoop my ass. That's why I'm saying it on Twitter. And his response was, fair enough. Like, that's the response. Like, be honest, right? Like, most of these people would never say it to you, to your face. They would never say it to you unless they had cops around. But they feel emboldened because that's the way they grew up, was to talk through devices and honestly not have a set of balls. If you can't say it to my face, I just don't respect you. And that's what we're seeing now more and more. And you can pick those people out, man, because you want to know how you pick them out on social media? They're the ones that go quiet. They ask you a question. When you respond, they respond not in a way to deface you. They respond in a way because they're really trying to educate you. And maybe they feel that strongly about their opinion. The people who just fly off the handle of me, oh, you're stupid and your show's dumb and this and that, like, you don't have an educated response to actually give. So you went to second grade. You called me a poo-poo head, right? Like, what the fuck is that going to change in my life? Nothing.
I mean, it's gotten to that point, man, where it's just it's childish name calling. But I see that a lot too. You mentioned it's the people who never had anything to say in person. Even some like former coworkers of mine. I've worked in schools for a very long time, and all of a sudden, the quiet PE teacher who never said a word, right? All of a sudden is the biggest social justice warrior on earth, and wants to call everybody racist and homophobic for having questions. I think I once threw out there this story about I guess it was a transgender man transitioning to woman who wanted to play on a basketball on a girls basketball team in college. Dude was like 7 feet. I'm like, this is not fair. And you've got to protect female sports because they've always kind of been on the chopping block. They've always kind of been, cast aside and whatnot. But to just start allowing something like that, where there's an unfair advantage, is dangerous too, and that's just my perspective. If I'm wrong, then let me know I'm wrong, educate me. But this lady went on a tangent calling everybody on the thread who agreed, you're homophobic and don't respond to me because, you're stupid kind of thing. And it's like, all right, I thought, we could at least have a conversation. But
you can't. It's polarized. But I'll tell you this, right? If you're a teacher, then you need to shut the fuck up about politics, period. Okay? That is not your place. When that bell rings and you're done grading fucking papers and your job is done, go be whoever the fuck you want. But when you're a teacher, your job is to educate, not educate on your perspectives. Educate, give both sides, and let the children make a decision for themselves. These social justice warriors that wrap themselves in a teacher's fucking cloth, don't even start. Don't start. And here's the other part of it. They're always the ones that complain. But when they do something wrong, you're still at fault. Right? So they're only prepping the kids instead of teaching the kids conflict resolution, have differing opinions. They're teaching kids that the squeakiest wheel gets the grease. The louder that you scream and the more you stomp your feet, you can get something. Right? So what else has tech taught our kids? Tech has taught our kids, I can cancel you if I want to.
There you go.
I delete you from my profile. I delete you from my phone. You no longer exist. Right? So you have twofold things coming in. Let's also tie this in. Money. How much money's on the line and dangled in front of schools? If you don't do this agenda, you don't get this money, which means people are out of jobs, right? So this is way higher when you really dig deep into things and you realize that the politicians and those people who are on TV and yelling at the top of their lungs, who are they getting paid by? And the kids don't know that, but we do. The teachers know that, but they fail to educate them on it. Right? So that's the stuff that I say, like, when you're a teacher, man, I love you. I do nothing. Man, my son's teachers and everything, I will send them messages weekly. Like, I really respect you. Thank you so much for teaching my son and all this stuff. My son's teacher went to his baseball game. Okay? Like, that's the kind of relationships that we try to build with these teachers. You know why? She keeps her fucking mouth shut about politics.
Right.
So, and you start seeing this and seeing it, and like, that was disgusting to me, right? I've reported it on my show. The teachers unions dangling stuff with BLM and other people. Like, you should never be doing that. Like, my kid going to school should never be hinged upon race.
Right.
Like, and that, it's not what we do.
And that's such a big, I mean, I don't know. It's, I guess, agenda, like, I think you see it in schools a lot more. Like, there's not even the option to kind of consider the other side. Immediately, it's like, no, you have to agree with this. And, it's getting to the point, you mentioned canceling, it's getting to the point where, the teachers are teaching the kids how to bitch and whine and, protest everything. Nothing wrong with protesting, right? But with the right purpose and the right cause. But they're teaching the kids to immediately, be anti-everything, anti-American, anti-police.
They're teaching them to be anarchist. They're not teaching them to protest, because protesting, technically, you have violent and you have civil. And even Martin Luther King was like, we don't protest at night. It sends the wrong message. We do it during the light hours. Light exposes all the stuff, right? Like, so I'm losing the fact of burning down schools and cities. In my opinion, I'm having a hard time digesting on how that's productive, because most of those people who were hurt were people of those freaking cities that they were claiming to support. The small business owner, right? The guy who's like, what, you think because he owns a bodega, he's rich? Bro, he's just about putting food on his table.
Mm-hmm.
You blew up his fucking store.
Right.
Like, who did you help?
Yeah. And, this mindset too, with what they're teaching kids sometimes, it can backfire. And I've seen it backfire actually. One particular school that I used to work at, I'm not going to name any names.
Yeah.
But, after I stopped working there a couple years later, you see all these kids all of a sudden, someone got a bad taste in their mouth, and now they're like accusing like every single former male teacher of, being a little bit too friendly and whatnot. Because and again, it's a different it's a different topic and whatnot, but it's kind of like the same, cancel, protest, anarchist type of mentality. And so now all of a sudden, people are getting fired, their careers are getting, destroyed because of false accusations. I don't think that all of them are false. I think, yeah, there's maybe some truth to maybe one or two stories, but now they're, even as for someone who, like a teacher who would just say like hello and goodbye and smile at you, all of a sudden that's considered like, oh, he's being too friendly. He's a pervert. Let's cancel him. And it's like, you just want to fight just for the sake of fighting. Like, you have to really have a cause. And a lot of times, when you just have been taught to fight for no reason, it can backfire.
That is what I would say conflict resolution, right? Think about it. If you and I get into an argument as kids, and I'm wrong, you're right, but I was really, really like, hey, I'm really right? And you're like, nah, man, you're wrong, right? No, I'm not wrong. And you're like, nah, man, you're wrong. And then we got somebody over, hey, third party, teacher, whoever it is, parent, come here and tell me, well, Fabian was right. Oh, shit. Right? I might just say, oh, shit. And then I'm like, it's okay to be wrong. Like, what happened? They're not taught that. So what they're taught is you're never wrong. You're entitled. You get a trophy if you lose, right? You're entitled. You're supposed to be. You could be a ballerina, bro. You're 462 pounds and you've got no toes. You'll never be a fucking ballerina, bro. Right? Like, right? That's the truth. But people get told that, and they get told those lies. So in their head, they build the synthetic reality, which happens with video games, right? And then they go over there and they're like, I could be whatever I want. So they create this reality. Now, to the point of whether it comes to like rape or molestation and things like that, like I talked about that in my book, bro. When I was a kid, I had a family member that did some stuff to me, right? And I didn't know how to talk about it. And when writing the book, I refuse to say the name or even allude to who it may be, because I didn't want to be accused. I was conscious enough to say, I don't want people to think I'm just throwing this person out there, right? Like, what's it going to change now? 30 years later, what's it going to change? I had to think about that. So I thought about that. It wasn't going to change anything. So I ruined his family's life. I ruined other people's lives, maybe by a mistake that they made. Right. And do I think people could change? Yes. Am I bitter about it? Nah, man. I've come to grips on that shit. Right. Like, I happen to be one of those people that had a shitty thing happen to him, and I got to get past it. Does it ever go away? No. But if you want to succeed in life, guess what? You better be really comfortable with being uncomfortable, because you're going to be in that situation a lot. Okay. Yeah. So you start preparing for it now. I guess I would say this: when kids are going nowadays, they can say whatever they want. And you're right. I can't go up to a lady, right? And you know what? Here's the real effed up point. If I wasn't a good looking guy, probably don't get in trouble. Right? So there's that too. Now it's a judgment call. Right? It's not because you said, hey, you look really nice today. Now, because I look a certain way, that's okay. I thought we're trying to get away from that. Right? And so, look, bad people and everything. There are people who lie about being touched. There are people who lie about things so they can get money. Here's the thing I'll bring up. I think if you dig deep enough, just on finding people who accuse somebody of rape or accuse somebody of something, How much money did that other person have? Number one. Number two, what position of power were they in? Number three, how would that other person benefit? And I will tell you now, if you really look through court cases, the number's a lot higher of people who lie about it now than it is of actually finding out that it was done.
I mean, I haven't looked into that, but I wouldn't doubt it, man. Just, because everybody's canceled all of a sudden, and even if you did something stupid, 20, 30 years ago, right? I mean, I'm just so glad that, YouTube and social media weren't as prevalent when I was, 19, 20 years old, 21 years old,
I used to call my Mexican friend Mexi. I'd get chastised right now. And he would call me gringo, right? Like, I mean, I'm just saying it like is honest, right? Like we had nicknames. Like you can't even use nicknames now. What if you liked it? What if you were like, yo, this is my nickname. So I call you your nickname, but I get in trouble because I called you the nickname you said I could call you.
I have a friend we call Whitey. He's been called Whitey since, 1999. And I wrote his name. I tagged him on something on Facebook, and Facebook, they put me in Facebook jail.
Yeah. Hey, so I'll take that for 1 second, right? Just for the people who are listening, this is not to ruffle your feathers. I just want to make one point, because this is always what the independent mouth is about. All those people who said stuff about vaccines, all those people who said stuff about voting, all those people who said stuff about their beliefs in COVID, right? Well, over the last couple months, we heard a lot of things change, right? Now, whatever you believe on it is what you believe. But why were all those people removed from social platforms? Why did they lose their livelihoods? I thought it was free speech. And now that you're 3 months later and you're finding out the deaths weren't this, they were this, or the vaccine's not this and it's this, right? Or you can't do this, but you can do this. Well, if those people were saying that 3 months ago, why are they still banned? And I'm not talking about anyone specifically, but you understand my point. If you find out 3 months later you were wrong, can't we correct the wrong? Or are we just going to continue going down that path to saying, I'm not wrong? You see what I'm saying? This goes back to the kids. So if it's what are they on every day? Their phone. So if it's being exemplified by who they're seeing, social media, Google, all these other things, how do you think the kids are going to grow up? That becomes ingrained in how they act.
Now, I think we talked a lot about some good stuff there, a lot of controversial stuff. I wanted to kind of sneak this question in there because I saw on your profile, man, you were able to talk to Vince Russo.
Yeah,
that's one interview I've been wanting to get as well. That's cool, man. Were you a wrestling fan, or you kind of took the route of not even touching wrestling when talking to him?
Oh man, Shawn Michaels was my favorite wrestler ever, behind The Ultimate Warrior. You're a big wrestling fan?
Oh yeah, I've been watching since I was like 3 years old, since I had conscious memory. Yeah.
Me too, bro. I had the wrestling buddies, and I would throw them off the couch and drop the elbow on them like Macho Man, bro. I did, I did all that stuff, right? So my friend Keith, it's in a previous episode that I have on my thing, but he'll tell you, we were such wrestling geeks that I actually broke his sister's bed by body slamming him into it. Okay. And so we broke his sister's bed because it was the closest thing that was fluffy enough that I could body slam him with. And it worked. It was awesome. It was fucking dope. I hit him with a power bomb. But Vince Russo is as cool of a dude as it gets, in my opinion. We had a great time. We're both from I'd say the northern New England area, me being from New York. He had been and now lives, grew up in different spots and now lives out near Colorado. But Vince Russo is as cool as it gets, man. And he answered stuff. But like I told you, dude, I don't fanboy. I know what Vince Russo did. I can look it up. Right. So a lot of times when it comes time to people like that, when you're talking to, it's really how you craft the questions and get some of those answers. But a lot of those guys are like bro, you can just look up the shit. You know, you're asking
Yeah.
the questions that you could look up already, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't go that route. I've never wanted to go that route with the independent mouth. Now, if you do, that's fine, right? Because maybe you have questions and it's, you know, you want to get some of them, but I don't fanboy like that. I never have. Like, I've interviewed Larry Hankin, I've interviewed Vince Russo, I've interviewed Scott Schwartz, I've interviewed Aubrey Logan, I've interviewed Sherry Pedigo, you know, triple platinum country artist. Like, I've interviewed some great people, Patrick Kilpatrick, a lot of other people, but I'll tell you now, like, I don't do that fanboy. Like, you know, the podcast, I want to get to know who they are. I want to get to know like how their life is now. I want to know the good stories behind what they did. Like Larry Hankin told me a story about what he used to do with one of the women he dated, the kids. That kid would build Legos, and the whole story's on my YouTube and podcast platform. But the kid would start building Legos. Larry would leave the comedy club or movie set or whatever and go home and say the kid would be sleeping. So he'd start building Legos on top of those Legos, right? And then Larry would go to bed. The kid would wake up the next day or would go to school or whatever else, blah, 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 get back. And then the kid would start building Legos again. And then Larry would go back and do another show or whatever. And I asked Larry, like, as he was starting to tell that story, I said, hey, when you left your comedy show, did you ever just think like, I want to go fuck with those Legos, right? You know, like, like what happened? He's like, oh, dude, yeah. It started happening. They had a full conversation with building Lego without talking.
Huh.
Right? Those are the questions people want. Like, what are you going to get? The same stuff that you see, you know, that they pitch for their book or whatever else, right? Like, you start getting the same questions, people aren't going to want to listen to you. And I just think that that's the freedom that you get as a content creator now, that you get to actually, you know, craft those questions, man. I'm not saying don't ask them. You know, I'm just saying probably not a good idea to lace the guy with nothing but wrestling questions if you ask.
Oh yeah,
you know,
for sure.
Yeah,
that's just, you know, that's going overboard. Like you said, it's all out there. If you listen to, you know, wrestling podcasts and stuff like that, you know, it's overdone, it's overkill. But wanted to also touch on, you know, the whole. Are you currently designing games as well, or is that something that you're not doing anymore?
No, I'm an executive producer. You know, we're trying to raise money for this company. Excuse me, but Vector Mirror, the Vector Mirror Initiative. We have a game out right now that is on Steam. It's called Vector Mirror.0, and you can go play it. It's a free game. It's got just about 100,000 downloads, so it's done, you know, pretty well. The second game that will be fully released by July 1st, I would say safely. I think it's going to actually come out during one of the summer sales in June for the final product, but that's a paid game, and that's just called Vector Mirror. So I have two games out, you know, free. I mean, not free games. One is a free game, and the other one is a paid game. But yeah, I have two games in the free market, man. You know, I mean, so I've been there doing it. I don't like the code like that way, right? Like I can understand all of it. I understand all of it. I find more enjoyment dealing with the teams, the creativity, really getting the strategies around a bunch of stuff and finding out where the sweet spots are that works, whether it's the mechanics or the art or whatever it is. Like, I really dig that. I don't want to sit there and just start, you know, pounding code, but I've built tons of, you know, test apps. I did a lot of coding from 2015 to about 2000 and actually kind of like when the pandemic hit. And then I was like, I just didn't really have the interest, you know, to do that the same way.
What's you know, if you're just kind of relaxing, sitting down, playing games, what's some of your favorite games right now to play?
Well, I mean, Apex Legends is one, just because I dig it. I think it's fun, right? I can get in, get out. God of War is always a game I've loved. Uncharted is always a game I've loved. Not much else. I mean, like Skyrim, those kinds of games. I've liked those more, man, because of the stories.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I've gotten into. So like, if I'm going to sit down and play a game on my console, then yeah, I'm going to play something like that.
I just been such a fan of like the Nintendo games. I love, you know, those Mario Brothers games and Zelda and everything, you know, waiting on that Breath of the Wild 2, you know, hopefully that makes a big splash.
Well, I didn't want to drown it out because everybody always says that, but by far, hands down, Zelda and Mario will always carry me through whatever. Like if there's no games anymore, just give me those and I'm okay. Like
Yeah.
I'll be satisfied with playing games. They're so well thought. They're fun. They're constantly engaging, and I like the characters. I
Hmm.
just don't like what's happening in games where they start adding political viewpoints into storylines. Like I was a huge fan of Last of Us, and I couldn't fucking stand Last of Us 2.
Mm.
I could not stand it. I couldn't stand the political lines that they were putting in there. I thought that they blew their load super quick in the game. It ruined the story for me, right? It wasn't anything in where I wanted to go with it. But kudos to them, clap for them that they get a game that a ton of people like. Something like that where I was so into the story to have it ruined with that kind of shit.
Yeah, they keep it out of gaming, right?
Yeah. Keep it out of my games, my sports, bro, and my food. Like, I don't want to hear that shit on any of those.
Yeah, we want to keep. It's hard keeping the world separate these days, but that's true. Sometimes you want a little bit of an escape, just to kind of like let me just take a break from all this nonsense,
Like, what do you do, man? Right? Like, do you want me coming up and being like, you should vote for this person, like while you're eating like you're at a barbecue? Like, I don't give a shit right now, bro. I want to eat, right? Like, what do you do? What games do you play? What do you like when you're sitting there and you're like, fuck it. By the way, golf. If you don't play golf, you should start playing golf because if I want to get away, man, just go hit golf balls, bro. Like, go, you know what I mean? Like, that's the best thing I can find besides video games to get away.
Yeah. No, that'd be interesting. Yeah, you're at a barbecue. Like, all right, if you're voting Republican, you get ribs. If you're voting Democrat,
Yeah, right?
you get tofu or something. That'd be interesting. I don't ever want to play that game.
Nah, bro, I'm at a barbecue, bro. I want to eat. Just give me the food, bro. Let me, I'll even cook it. I'm a big food guy, man.
Yeah. I like to smoke some ribs or tri-tip every now and then. Can't beat that, man. I don't know if you guys barbecued much in New York, but I think it's become a little more prevalent in California now. A lot of people don't take California barbecue seriously, but we got a lot of sunshine over here, so it's always barbecue season.
Bro, I barbecue all the time. I'll tell you now, tri-tip, that's become one of my favorite cuts of meat because I found multiple ways. You could do like a dry rub, right? You could do like a wet rub, put them in. You could just cook them regular, right? They're delicious. They are absolutely delicious.
And it only takes an hour.
Not well, bro. I don't even need that.
Yeah, maybe
some
45
stuff.
minutes. Yeah.
If so, right? Like there's certain ways that you could cook the stuff depending on how you want it cooked. I can tell you now, barbecue, bro. Give me barbecue. I'll cook everything on a barbecue. Peppers, all of it, right? Like I just set it up, but like just give me food, man. We don't even go out. I barely go out to restaurants because I'm tired of being let down. I can cook really well. So why not just cook the shit at my house instead of having to wait for, you know what I mean? Instead of like, I got to answer to you like at a restaurant and not feel full when I leave. I got to spend $100 at the restaurant and feel like I need more food or it wasn't good. I'm like, that's not for me. So we started cooking, man. We started cooking even more and more and more. And we make it a point, man, to have some fun cooking some food.
For sure. Now, we just scratched the surface on a lot of the stuff you're working on, man. I know you're a busy guy. You got a lot of projects. What's next on the horizon? Like, what do you have going on? What's coming up for your podcast? Anything? I know you mentioned gaming already. Any more books? Anything like that?
Yeah. So there will be another book. I started writing out a good chunk of the book, but then kind of had like another idea that fit better than like my original idea. So I started adding and making those changes because I just wasn't comfortable with it. Right. And it's a really personal thing. Right. So you want to make sure it's right. So, I kind of thought about that, but I never promised any dates to anybody. Right. So it's not like I shot myself in the foot by doing that. I always told people I'm just working on it. And right now I'm still working on it. But, as far as games goes, when that game Vector Mirror drops towards the end of June, that's going to be a big hit, I think. I think a lot of people are really going to dig it. They really dig the parkour style. It's got a full story. So that's been some time of working on things. The podcast is ever growing, man. Yeah.
Real quick, the game is it third person, first person?
It's a first person parkour style of game, right? So you're going through obstacles and doing all this crazy stuff, man, and it's just really fast paced. A lot of fun. Like you could it's one of those that has more replayability than it is. It's not going to be a 30-hour game.
Mm.
But you could go through and there's always going to be different ways that you could attack those puzzles or whatever else. So it really allows for a ton of replayability. So for the people out there, go add it to your wish list. It's called Vectormir. Go play Vectormir Zero, man. Like Vectormir Zero is free. It is free. Go play Vectormir Zero. And then if you like it, go purchase the regular game or put it on your wish list and wait for a sale or whatever the case is. Like however you want to do it. I'm just telling you. Almost 100,000 downloads on the first game in less than a year. That means people like it. So, it's rampant. But with the podcast, bro, just tell you now, I'm working on a couple things with the podcast because I found a lot of things to do with the podcast and more about educational processes and helping people grow and building it where it's like a community. Because a lot of podcasters feel like they're left on like an island.
Yeah, it's become kind of like a social media thing, though. A lot of people. I mean, so many people started during the pandemic.
Yeah.
It's like everybody has a podcast now.
Yeah, I just think personally, the reason why podcasts make it is because their content's good, right? And so let's be realistic. There's a bunch of people, and if you like to do it just to do it, then more power to you. Like, I know it's refreshing, it's fun. It may be therapy for some people, and that's cool. I want to make money at it. And so, I'm working on different packages and different things where the group is kind of working to grow, right? Because otherwise, what are your choices, man? What are you going to get picked up by a news channel or a TV station or a radio station? Because that's like one person a year, maybe, right? Like, so what are the opportunities? Right, for you to grow and make money? Like there are ways to do it the right way, carefully. Just you got to eliminate the scumbags. Unfortunately, in the podcast business or marketing businesses or consulting businesses, there's tons of people who are really just in it for themselves and will never give you a solid piece of advice unless it's going to directly affect them in a positive monetary fashion, right? So that's why I said parsing information is extremely important when you get into this game, because you need to do a lot of research and you need to listen to the things that come out of people's mouths and then kind of digest that before you impulsively agree to do something before you actually think about it.
Yeah, I like it, man. All right. So where can people find you online if they want to reach out or check out some of your stuff?
Man, the easiest way is theindependentmouth.com. You can go there. Theindependentmouth.com has everything. It's got my books. It's got podcasts. It's got sponsorships from other places. It's got blankets. It's got food. Like I have other people's stuff on there to help them out, as well. You can find me. The Independent Mouth is on every platform. The podcast is on every platform. And when I say every platform, it is will be spoken to you through Alexa. Okay. It is on Amazon. It is on Alexa. It is on Twitter. The podcast is also on Pandora. It is on iHeart. It is on Spotify. It is on Podbean. It is on YouTube. It's on Rumble. I mean, you name it. And I have it on that's why it says behind me, available everywhere. It is officially available everywhere. And it is not just politics, man. It is news and entertainment. It is sports. It is interviews. And I will say this, the one thing we've been able to do is with every celebrity guest or guest is we've gotten something that they have not spoken about on air anywhere else.
Yeah. Well, wish you lots of luck on that, man. It sounds, the little bit of discussion we had here, it did sound like something interesting. Definitely people should tune in, even if they don't agree with you. Maybe they'd be more enticed to listen to you if they don't agree with you.
Argue with me. Look, here's my nickname. I am the battle podcaster, bro. I can go on any topic with anybody at any time. And if fans of the show really don't agree and you want to bring up the topic, you could message me directly. And I don't know if people are going to see this or not, but I could tell you now, man, I got people who message me all the time through the platform and say, hey, I really like this, or hey, man, I don't like can you support that? Can you give me details, right? Like of where you got that? And I'll be like, yeah, here, take a look and read for yourself. I'm not the end all be all, right? Like I'm not, I can, hey, here's the info. You make your own decisions.
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate having you on. You know, again, it was a lot of fun. I'll definitely be checking out, you know, your interviews. I got to check out that Vince Russo one. Is it out yet or?
Vince Russo. Actually, it's funny that you're asking me that, man. Let me give you a little lineup. I got my the interview with Terminus Media, the guys who were doing.
Oh yeah, I talked to them.
Yeah, Dominion and all of that. Terminus Media will drop on the 2nd of June, and then Vince Russo actually drops on the 9th of June. And this is all, you can go to the Independent Mouth, whether it is YouTube, whether it is Twitter, whether it is LinkedIn, whether it is Facebook. I will have TikTok up. I don't really care about TikTok, to be honest with you, but I will start posting the clips to TikTok, but like every social media platform, I wanted an actual strategy before just dumping stuff on there. Sherry Pedigo will be on the 16th. And then I honestly, man, I still have like 6 interviews that I've done that I haven't even finalized and broke down. And I try to like get all of it out a month in advance, and I do all the advertising. But like I said, if you go to any one of those social medias, I put up lists of what guest lists are for that month, so you can see, you know, who I'm interviewing and whatnot. By the way, if you were fans of the Howard Stern show, I'm pretty much doing a weekly live Facebook show with Bob Levy. And
Thanks,
you might want to check that out, dude, because we had a lot of fun last week, and it's really just about lighthearted comedy, man, and just talking about like 2 guys like sitting down kicking it, bro. That's all it is. It's not like let's get into these crazy topics. It's just conversation and fun, and it has been a hit. And after we did one show, people kept asking us to do more, and now Bob was like, hey, why don't we do one a week? So I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
Well, good stuff, man. For everybody listening at home, I appreciate it. Thank you. Fuck you and good night.
I love it.
Subscribe to the Ignorance is Strength podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Like, follow, and share on Facebook and Instagram at Ignorance is Strength Podcast, and on Twitter at The Ignorance Pod.